The pause is intentional stillness, not inaction. You can't recalibrate while sprinting. Pausing creates space for that self-check-in. Hi, thank you for joining yet another episode of Get Set with Lissette. This is where we have inspiring conversations that empower you to get set. No guest, no anyone. Today, we are going to be talking about something that is imperative and necessary in our fast-paced world. That is the importance of a pause. So as you guys all know, and if you've been rocking with me since the beginning, you know that anytime I come with information or with any kind of topic, my goal is to ensure that I am providing something that comes from either personal experience, personal relatability, something that has inspired me first and foremost, and then I bring it to you. So today's topic is just like that and the same as everything else. And my hope is that you find value and purpose in learning how to stop and pause for a second. And the reason for the topic and why it's coming right now is because I just recently experienced that. So I'm bringing it to you from a place of beyond relatability. As I've shared in different episodes and as we ventured through this journey together, one thing is true about Lissette, and that is that I have always been a go-getter. I've always been ambitious. I'm constantly looking to not be stuck in stagnancy and what am I doing well today, but challenging myself to figure out what's the next best thing. How do I grow? Where do I see myself going, building, being? And in that, at times, you can find yourself in a space of the rat race of what's happening, and for whether it's a moment, forgetting to just breathe or pause. Or you get so caught up in whatever it is that you're doing that you tend to lose sight on why you started it in the first place and what the reason or rationale of what it was that you were doing is. So with that said, my hope is that this episode encourages you to learn to practice stillness and to use the pause as power. So let's get into that. As you guys always know, I am going to provide context on anything that I give. With that, bear with me for a second because I'm going to explain the definition of pause. A pause is an intentional break in motion, a moment of stillness used to reflect, reset, or realign before moving forward. It's a conscious choice to stop, breathe, and take inventory of where you are emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually. So one thing that I need you to understand is that a pause doesn't mean to quit or give up. It means you value clarity over chaos. It's space to ask yourself, am I moving with purpose or am I just moving? So when we think of that in and of itself, that question lends itself to a moment of, am I moving with purpose or am I just moving? What that means to me is, am I just going through the day-to-day? Am I simply just doing for the sake of doing? Am I working for the sake of working? Am I just there? I can't speak for you, but I know for self, there have been so many moments where I'm so wrapped up in whatever it is that is going on that I forget the why of whatever it is that's happening. And that is a scary place to be, because I never want to be the person that just does. I don't want to, and call it what you will, I might be being extra. You may listen or watch and be like, you're doing the most. And a lot of people that know me may say that I do the most. I really tend to try, especially in this new arena that I'm in, this new space that I'm evolving into. Gone are the days of doing things just for the sake of doing them. I genuinely, with every fiber of my being, am looking to be intentional and authentic with every decision, every space I'm in, every conversation I have, every move I make. My goal is to ensure that I am showing up 100% Lissette in it, and being 100% true in whatever that is. And so that's the reason for this topic today, because I got to a point where for a quick, I'm talking millisecond, I had to question myself on the why of what it was that I was doing. And so in that same regard, I challenge you to do the same, because it's in those moments of pausing that you will gain the clarity necessary to push yourself towards whatever that next step looks like for you in particular. And it is my sincere hope that if you get nothing else out of that conversation of today, that you walk away with that, because there is not only beauty in pause, but there's power in it. My hope is that we start to learn how to walk away from the monotonous doing and learn to be more intentional with the whys behind everything. I believe personally that we're going to go back to grade school days, right? You've got 5 types of questions. You've got the what, the how, the where, the when. In my opinion, the most important of them all is the why. Why we move, why we do, why we start is essential. And getting into that, at times, you have to just take inventory. Like I said, pausing isn't quitting. It's also not laziness. I need to be clear on that. When you stop something, or pause, should I say, it isn't laziness. It's intentional stillness that I'm talking about. Example. Mind you, I can hold a note, but by no means am I going to sing on this platform, and by no means am I going to tell y'all that I am a singer. But let's use songs as a metaphor, okay? When an individual is singing, they have to find points in music to create a moment of pause where they can get that next breath, where they can find an opportunity to build breath in them in order to ensure that the notes come out the way that they want. That's what I'm saying when I'm talking about pausing, right, with intentionality. I'm not saying give up something. I'm not even saying in the middle of doing this on third, you just stop for a second and now I've made a pause. No, I am saying to be intentional with stillness, to take a moment to find an opportunity to gain that breath, to keep going. So in thinking about that, I then started to think, well, why do we resist the pause, right? What is it about stillness that makes us so frantic? Could it be that internal pressure of having to be productive 24/7? Is it the fear of being left behind on something, so you want to make sure that you're just going and going and going, so you don't give yourself moments of pause, because God forbid you stop right now, you lose that next opportunity. Is there guilt associated with it, right? Like, I know I can only speak from personal experience, but there have been times where I feel guilty for taking moments of rest or just stopping, right? I mean, and I can't speak for all, but I know that this is especially true for high achieving individuals, right? When you are a high achiever or a person who has high ambition, you're constantly thinking about ways to build or grow or do. And so you want to make sure that you're making use of every step, every day, every minute that you have. So pausing feels like you haven't earned that right, or you're not doing the most that you can with your time. And yet I would be willing to challenge that thinking coming from a person who's been through it, to say that the best ideas, the best moments of clarity for myself that I've gotten is when I was in a time or in a space where I have been forced to pause. I have had to stop. And in that, I've been able to ground myself, regain opportunity, and learn to be better and build ourselves. But I can't help but think and also just feel really, really sad for all of us as a community that we have gotten to a place where stillness equals complacency, a place where stopping means that we're not in whatever arena not is. And I hate that we have become so quick to do that we forget to wait. And there's a lot of different reasons why pauses are important, right? Like, it's not just a matter of the ambitious aspect, and it's not just about, pausing simply for the sake of whatever it is that you do or whatever it is you have going on. Life's. If it's not going to do anything else, it's going to life. And we are a whole human being and holistically made. And when I say that includes spiritual, mental, physical, it's all of the above. And so there are moments of pause that are necessary in every last one of those arenas. So what does that look like? Pausing for emotional inventory, right, is how am I really feeling right now? Why am I feeling this way? And giving yourself the grace to sit in that and take time to understand what that looks like. What does that mean to you? How am I processing X, Y, and Z? Without being super morbid, that's not what we do. But I feel so sad for the next generation because of the fast-paced environment that we all stay in, and not just our day in and day out, but like I've said in other episodes, and like I've shared in the past, and honestly, like that information that is just easily accessible, we have gotten to a point where our attention span is seconds, 20 seconds, if that. We constantly are just going and going. And because of that, and because we're in a day where information is so easily, readily available, you've got artificial intelligence now, you've got the opportunity to make things and be more efficient in your day-to-day because of how quickly we can do things now, that I do think that we are lacking that emotional stillness, the ability to recalibrate yourself from an emotional standpoint, to understand what that looks like or what that is, or why am I feeling this or that, and allowing that to be there. There's also opportunities for check-ins when it comes to like your own spiritual check-in, right? And I've said it before and I'll say it again, like I am by no means going to push my own belief system or anything that I feel on an individual, but I do believe that we have to believe in something. We have to know that there's something greater than just the here and now. Because if there's not, this is a very depressing space and place for living. We need to have something that goes outside of and past just the monotonous day to day. So when we pause for that spiritual check-in, what does that look like? That is something as easy as, am I aligned with my values and my value system, my belief system, my faith, my purpose, right? Am I, in what I'm doing right now, am I aligned in that? And if the answer is no, allowing that opportunity to pause and be still gives you grace to then go in and say, then where am I off? What is missing? How did I get here? When did the shift happen? And what do I need to do to realign myself in whatever that is? I mean, the purpose of this whole idea of pausing, it again, we've talked emotional, we've talked spiritual, mental clarity as well. When we discuss that, it's as simple as, what do I need to release and what do I need to receive, right? What do I need to let go of and have space for more mental capacity for other things to be able to come in? What can I say, this is not mine to carry and I must shift my mindset and let it go? And where can I make space to allow new information to come in? In that same vein of mental clarity, sometimes the pause is, do I even like what it is that I'm doing right now? The space that I'm in right now? And if the answer is no to that, the beauty and the power of pausing and giving yourself the opportunity to sit in stillness gives you a way to then say, then where do my interests lie? Where do I want to shift? How can I start this new whatever it is? I mean, a pause can be as simple as, I haven't dropped a podcast episode in over a month. Why? Because I needed to take inventory of my own mental, spiritual, and just overall self. Full transparency, I needed to know and make decisions on the why I am doing the things that I'm doing. And more importantly, the who that surrounds me in that, and the how to get that information out. And I was able to gain that clarity in the pause. A final component of that is also physical awareness. Is my body asking for rest? Am I tired? Right? Do I need to just stop? I'll say this. I encourage you to jot down these things. When it comes to the pause, think about these arenas that I've just thrown out there. Emotional inventory, spiritual check-in, mental clarity, physical awareness. All of these components make one whole human being. And in every last one of them, there can be a separate question that you ask yourself, a moment to ground yourself, and an opportunity to put yourself in a space and place where you can find purpose in that pause. Bringing it back and going transparent with you. Like I said, great works without anything behind it is lost. Doing something just for the sake of doing it can be successful in its own way, but does it really fulfill you? Those moments that I'm talking about are the reasons why I've gotten personally to the place that I am today. So let me give you a real life example of the power and beauty in this concept of pausing that I'm talking about. I'm going to give you two examples, very simple ones, but each in its own self. First example was over a decade ago. a long time ago. I'll say that. Long time ago on a world of. But I felt like a hypocrite at one point in my life because my personal life was not in alignment with my professional endeavors. Professionally, I was leading a charge for collective impact. I was a director for a nonprofit organization. I was a champion for change and in a space where I spoke to a lot of people on how to harbor their own personal power, their own ability to do, and continue to like tell them to enrich their lives by being authentically true to themselves, by making necessary changes. Like this is what I did for a living. However, personally, I was on the tail end of an abusive relationship. I was not physically taking care of myself at all. I was skipping meals and just doing what was necessary to just do. And I learned quickly that I can't even say I learned. I learned the lesson after. I realized based off of physical need of rest, if I'm honest, right? That pause came on the physical aspect first because I was just worn out. And in that, I realized the importance of collecting inventory. And in this moment of stillness that God himself basically made me do because I needed to sit down and I was physically unable to continue. So I was forced into this pause. So this example, I was forced into it. And yet what it did was provide time by myself to ask the questions that I just have told you to ask yourself in moments and allowed me to realign myself with me, learn my own worth and value, and stand firm on decisions that needed to be made and execute. The pause provided that arena because it gave me an ability to just stop, collect myself, and then go. Now, in saying that example, that is and I can't say midlife because I was younger, but we're going to just call it for sake so that you understand context. It was a midlife crisis type of pause. It was when life's and everything around me stopped and I needed to just do, be, and become better and learn through that stillness. Another personal example, just so that you guys can find a way to relate to your own life, is like I started to share, the moments that I've made decisions for just starting a platform like this. I have said before, and I'll say it again, this entire journey started 10 years back. It started with different ideas, different ways to go about it, different modes of how it was going to look and be. And then once I took the chance and the dive to get started, I just went and I kept going. And I kept going because, again, we're in a society of momentum, of building, of doing and going and going and creating and creating. And I needed a moment of stillness. And this last month and a half or so of we're not going to say nothingness because I was still working, but I was doing so with more intentionality. I granted myself the grace to pause, to collect myself in a way to realign my own goals of the whys behind everything, and then preserved for myself peace in this moment of disarray. And in that regard, on the other side, I've revamped how I want to show up for you. I have given a little, makeover on what I present and show. And I now have clarity on the vision, the mission, the road to, and the bigger picture. The stillness provided me that opportunity, and I was able to provide real life, tangible decisions that all lead up to what I hope to be inspiring conversations that empower you to get set. I say that with every fiber of my being, and I personally believe that I have found beauty in stopping, pausing for a moment, recollecting myself so that I can be the best version of me and stand in truth to then give you something of content and of worth. And I do that as authentically and transparently as I can. And I believe in my heart of hearts that that provides opportunity for more evolution, more growth, and more opportunity for transparent conversations and a safe space that we can then continue to build together. So now that I've given you the whys, the hows, and this concept of pausing, and I'm hoping that I'm doing so in a way that you can learn the importance of it, understand the whys of it. So now let me give you some real life practical ways of practicing it. You can't go from never having driven a car to NASCAR level driving, right? So I can't have an expectation that I now introduce this topic of pausing and standing in stillness in this space and place and have an expectation that now all of a sudden you're a stoic, meditative type of individual. No, all of those things come with practice. One easy way to implement pausing is just taking a deep breath. So in that regard, you can do either the 4-7-8 breathing technique or just moments. So what do I mean when I say 4-7-8? That is inhaling through your nose for 4 seconds, right? So holding it for 7 seconds, exhaling slowly through your mouth for 8 seconds. So I don't know how this is going to do for the audio nor the visual, to be honest with you, but we're going to practice for one quick moment. All right. So we're going to inhale through the nose for 4 seconds. I held it for 7 seconds. And now let us exhale for 8 through the mouth. See? You see how that worked? Again, probably sounds crazy on the audio. So for that, I do apologize. But I'm hoping that you're gaining that essence of pausing through just a quick yet intentional breathing technique. This calming breath work is going to reduce your stress. It's going to regulate your emotions. And it will bring your nervous system down. Studies have shown this to be true. And if you're in a very high stress situation, do it on repeat for a few cycles. Practice it 3 to 4 times. It won't take a lot of moments, but it will be a moment of pause in high stress situations. Let me now talk about what gifts come from this stillness, right? I've given you a quick way to go about it, but let's talk about gifts that can come from it. Clarity, creativity, calming yourself, right? Better decision making will come from moments of stillness. And I said just real quickly, a nice quick exercise of the breathing. But once you get that down to a T, let me talk about a few other ways that you can practice stillness and pauses. Pause from your cell phone. Just put it down in moments, right? Walk away from it for a little while. Give yourself a moment to just put the phone down. And even if it's just a minute of separation, take those 60 seconds and do that breath work that I'm talking about. Now, once you get to the point of being better at pausing, practice real life emotional and mental health practices that create moments of pausing, such as daily check-in journals, blocking white space in your calendar of nothingness where you have moments to just think, and see how that will garner the gifts that we're talking about. Opportunities to just gain self-control. And it'll also provide an opportunity for you to learn to trust yourself again. Because in a world where there's so much noise, learning to pause and be still with self, whether it's through the breath work that we just practiced or going deeper and getting into journaling and all these other areas of just pausing from social media or taking these like breaks from whatever your space of stress comes from, you will allow yourself an opportunity to re-inspire yourself, to trust yourself again, to build more confidence in yourself because you'll learn to listen to yourself in your stillness. I'm saying that from the space of already having known certain things, right? There were certain variables that I personally knew in my life, like my examples that I used, that I knew were not in alignment with who I was as an individual. So what happens if you're completely out of alignment, right? Does the pause still work? Yes. Pause anyway. I encourage people who feel lost, anxious, or off track to still find opportunities of stillness. It may not be a necessary question of like, am I, doing this or that right? Or, how am I feeling in this moment? But maybe the question that you ask yourself is, what am I doing? Where do I want to go? Like asking questions about real life scenarios for yourself. If you feel completely out of alignment, pausing is still going to work, and it'll allow yourself to find an opportunity to realign yourself with where you want to go. And hopefully, if you're in unalignment, possibly just find your why. Find the what is it that I want to do in my life. And that can look very different for different people. Pausing is often just a first step into getting back and into alignment. It's not the last. You can't recalibrate when you're spiraling. So pausing is simply the first step. And so if you're in complete unalignment, pausing still is a great practice to have to allow yourself to just align yourself with you and then figure out those next steps. And if you're a person that is in alignment and yet stress has come to get to you, pausing gives you the grace to be still. When you pause, you open your door to emotional honesty. You give yourself an opportunity of rest. When you're overwhelmed, misaligned, or just in the thick of things, pausing is always that first step to get you back right and to get you back to your purpose. And again, if you're in completely unaligned, it gives you an opportunity. So I invite you all to take one intentional pause today, whether it's just using that 4-7-8 technique, or if you're in a position where you're a little further on, it's taking an intentional moment of blocking out time on your calendar for just stillness and thinking. It can be as deep as being intentional and taking opportunity to do the work necessary and put pen to paper or thumbs to phone, if you're using notes like note journals on your phone, an opportunity to just try to journal and get things going. So I always do my key takeaways. And so for today's key takeaways, what I want to share are the following. Number 1, the pause is intentional stillness, not inaction. So what I mean by that is to pause is not just to stop something. It is an intentional moment of breakness of whatever sort, stopping, of grounding to continue to forge forward. It is never to be misinterpreted as an act. My second key takeaway is that pausing creates space for that self-check-in, for giving you an opportunity to realign yourself, realign your goals, realign your mission and vision, your purpose, and ensuring that you are in that right arena versus just the continue go, go, go. Another key takeaway is that realignment often happens with rest, with that stopping. It gives you the opportunity to learn and have most times the biggest breakthrough that you may expect in that moment of just rest and stopping. And finally, you can't recalibrate while sprinting. So when I said that, what I mean is you cannot recollect yourself. You can't start anew, go into a different direction when you're already in the sprint. You're unable to recalibrate in the midst of it all. There is beauty and power in the pause. I encourage you to share this episode with someone that needs to take a moment. Share your thoughts with me. I will have my email on the bottom. Share with me moments that you've used the pause or moments where it was necessary. Hopefully you guys take something out of this. As always, sending light, sending love. And let's be intentionally pausing for here on out on opportunities that we find we need to just be true to ourselves in stillness. Bye.